Have you ever looked up at the stars? Did you wonder where everything came from? If you have, then you have already met philosophy. Philosophy is a very old way of thinking. It comes from Greek words. Philo means love, Sophia means wisdom, so philosophy means love of wisdom. It is all about wanting to understand things, deep things, important things. It is a journey for your mind. Philosophy is like a big box of questions. These are not simple questions with easy answers. They are questions like, what is fairness? What does it mean to be alive? How do we know what is true? For thousands of years, people have asked these questions. They have thought very hard about them. They have shared their ideas with others. This sharing and thinking is what philosophy is all about. It is a conversation across time. Imagine you are a detective. A detective looks for clues. A detective tries to solve mysteries. Philosophers are like detectives of life. They look for clues about the big mysteries. Why are we here? What is the best way to live? They use their minds as their magnifying glass. They examine ideas carefully. They try to see things clearly. This is the grand adventure of philosophy. So philosophy is not just for old professors with long beards. It is for everyone. It is for anyone who is curious. It is for anyone who likes to wonder. It starts with simple wonder. Like a little seed, if you water it with questions, it can grow into a big tree of understanding. Are you ready to plant some seeds of wonder? Let's explore together. You might think, why ask such big questions? We have school, we have jobs, we have so much to do. Why spend time on questions that might not have answers? That is a good question itself. But think about this. These big questions are like maps. They help us find our way. They help us understand the world we live in. They help us understand ourselves too. Asking these questions makes our minds strong. It is like exercise for the brain. When you lift weights, your muscles get stronger. When you think about difficult ideas, your mind gets sharper. You learn to think clearly. You learn to see different sides of an argument. This is a very useful skill. It helps you in school. It helps you in life. It helps you make better choices. Philosophy also helps us understand other people. People live in different ways. They believe different things. Why is that? Philosophy explores different ideas about how to live. It looks at different cultures and different times. This can make us more open-minded. It can make us more understanding. It helps us see that our way is not the only way. This is very important for living together peacefully. And perhaps most importantly, philosophy can help us live a richer life. It makes us think about what truly matters. Is it money, is it fame, or is it something else? By thinking about these things, we can decide what is important for our own happiness. We can choose to live a life that has meaning for us. It is like finding a hidden treasure within ourselves, a treasure of wisdom and purpose. Let us travel back in time. We're going to ancient Athens in Greece. This was more than 2,000 years ago. There we might meet a man named Socrates. Socrates was a very unusual philosopher. He did not write any books. He did not have a grand school. He just walked around the marketplace. He talked to people. He asked them questions, lots and lots of questions. Socrates believed that he knew nothing. This might sound strange for a wise man, but he thought it was the first step to learning. He would ask people about things they thought they knew. What is justice? What is courage? People would give answers. Socrates would ask more questions. Often people realized they did not understand as well as they thought. He was like a gadfly, a little insect that buzzes around and annoys horses. He annoyed people into thinking. One of his most famous sayings is, "The unexamined life is not worth living." What did he mean? He meant that we should think about our lives. We should ask ourselves if we are living well. Are we being good people? Are we seeking truth? If we just go through life without thinking, like a sleepy sheep, then we are missing something important. Socrates wanted everyone to wake up and think. Sadly, some powerful people in Athens did not like Socrates. They said he was corrupting the young people. They said he was disrespecting the gods. They put him on trial. Socrates could have run away, but he stayed. He believed in his mission to make people think. He was sentenced to death. Even facing death, he remained calm and thoughtful. He showed that philosophy was not just about talking, but also about how you live and die. After Socrates came his most famous student. His name was Plato. Plato was very sad when Socrates died. He wanted to make sure Socrates' ideas were not forgotten, so Plato wrote many books. These books are called dialogues. They are like little plays. In them, Socrates is often the main character. He asks questions and discusses big ideas with other people. This is how we know so much about Socrates. Plato had his own amazing ideas too. One of his biggest ideas was about a world of forms. Imagine every chair you have ever seen. They are all different. Some are big, some small. Some are wooden, some metal. But you know they are all chairs. Why? Plato said it is because there is a perfect idea of a chair. This perfect chair exists in another world, a world of forms. All the chairs in our world are just copies or shadows of that perfect chair. To explain this, Plato told a famous story. It is called the allegory of the cave. Imagine people chained in a cave. They face a wall. Behind them a fire burns. People walk behind them carrying objects. The fire casts shadows of these objects on the wall. The prisoners see only the shadows. They think the shadows are real. One prisoner escapes. He sees the real world outside. It is bright and beautiful. He realizes the shadows were not reality. Plato thought our world is like the shadows in the cave. The real world is the world of forms. The philosopher is like the prisoner who escapes. The philosopher tries to see the perfect forms, the true reality. This journey is hard. The truth can be dazzling like the sun, but for Plato, this was the goal of philosophy, to understand the true nature of things, to see beyond the shadows. It is a powerful idea, isn't it? Section 5, Aristotle, the thinker who loved the world. Plato had a brilliant student. His name was Aristotle. Aristotle studied with Plato for many years, but he did not always agree with his teacher. Plato looked towards a world of perfect forms beyond our senses. Aristotle, however, was very interested in the world we can see, touch, and study. He was a great observer. He wanted to understand how everything around us worked. Aristotle was like a scientist and a philosopher combined. He studied plants and animals. He looked at the stars and the weather. He wrote about logic. Logic is the study of good reasoning. How can we make a good argument? How can we avoid mistakes in our thinking? Aristotle laid down rules for logical thinking. These rules were used for centuries. He believed we learn by observing the world and using our reason. He also thought a lot about how to live a good life. Plato focused on knowing the forms. Aristotle focused on eudaimonia. This Greek word is often translated as happiness or flourishing. For Aristotle, a good life was a life of activity. It was about using our abilities to the fullest, especially our ability to reason. He said we should aim for a golden mean. This means avoiding extremes. For example, courage is a mean between being too scared and being too reckless. Aristotle wrote about many subjects: politics, poetry, ethics, biology, physics. His ideas were incredibly influential. For almost 2,000 years, he was known simply as the philosopher. He showed us that philosophy is not just about abstract ideas. It is also about understanding the concrete world around us and about living well within it. He brought philosophy down to earth in a way. He wanted to understand all of it. Section 6, Right and Wrong, a little look at ethics. Now let's talk about a special branch of philosophy. It is called ethics. Ethics is all about right and wrong. It asks questions like, what makes an action good? What makes an action bad? How should we treat other people? Do we have duties to others or to animals or to the planet? These are very important questions. We face them every day, even if we don't call it ethics. Think about when you were little. Maybe you had a toy. Another child wanted to play with it. Should you share? Why or why not? That is an ethical question. Or imagine you find a wallet full of money. What should you do? Keep it? Try to find the owner? These choices involve thinking about what is fair, what is kind, and what is right. Ethics tries to find good reasons for our choices. Philosophers have thought about ethics in many different ways. Some say that an action is good if it brings the most happiness to the most people. This is called utilitarianism. Others say that some actions are always wrong, no matter what the consequences. For example, lying or stealing. They believe we have certain duties. Still others focus on being a good person, on developing virtues like honesty and compassion. Exploring ethics doesn't always give easy answers. Sometimes situations are very complicated. Imagine a train is running out of control. It is heading towards 5 people stuck on the track. You can pull a lever. This will switch the train to another track. But there is one person on that other track. What do you do? This is a famous thought experiment called the trolley problem. It makes us think hard about our values. Ethics helps us navigate these tricky waters. Section 7. What is real? Peeking into metaphysics, let's put on our explorer hats again. This time, we are venturing into a land called metaphysics. This might sound like a very big and scary word, but the questions it asks are fascinating. Metaphysics is the branch of philosophy that asks, what is reality? What is existence? What kinds of things are real? Is the world just made of physical stuff like atoms, or is there something more? Think about your dreams. When you are dreaming, it feels very real, doesn't it? But when you wake up, you know it was not real in the same way as your bedroom is real. So what is the difference? What makes something real? Metaphysics explores these kinds of questions. It also thinks about concepts like time. Is time like a river, always flowing, or is it something else? And what about space? Metaphysics also wonders about things we cannot see or touch. What about numbers? The number 7 is not a physical object you can hold, but it seems real, doesn't it? We use it to count. We use it in mathematics. What about ideas like justice or love? Are they real? If so, in what way? These are the puzzles that metaphysicians love to ponder. They try to understand the fundamental nature of being. Some philosophers, called materialists, believe that only physical matter is real. Everything else, thoughts, feelings, consciousness, can be explained by the workings of our physical brain. Other philosophers, called idealists, might argue that mind or consciousness is more fundamental than matter. Perhaps reality is more like a thought than a thing. Metaphysics is full of these grand ideas. It pushes the boundaries of our understanding of what it means for something to exist. Section 8. How do we know? Exploring epistemology. We have talked about what is real. Now, let's ask another very important question. How do we know what is real? How do we know anything at all? This is the land of epistemology. Epistemology is the theory of knowledge. It asks, what is knowledge? How do we get it? Can we be certain about what we know, or is all knowledge just a matter of opinion? Think about how you learn things. You learn from your senses. You see the blue sky, you feel the warm sun, you hear the birds sing. This is called empirical knowledge. Knowledge from experience, but can our senses always be trusted? Sometimes our eyes play tricks on us. A stick in water looks bent, but it is straight. So how much can we rely on our senses to give us true knowledge? We also gain knowledge through reason. We can think things through logically. For example, if you know that all dogs are mammals and you know that Fido is a dog, then you can reason that Fido is a mammal. This is knowledge gained through deduction. But where do our starting points for reasoning come from? And how do we know our reasoning is correct? Epistemology digs into these questions. Epistemology also helps us think about belief and justification. If you believe something, what makes that belief knowledge? Is it enough to just believe it strongly? Most philosophers would say no. They would say that for a belief to be knowledge, it must also be true, and you must have good reasons or justification for believing it. So epistemology encourages us to examine why we believe what we believe. It helps us become more careful and critical thinkers. Section 9, Philosophy, our compass in a puzzling world. So we have journeyed through some big ideas. We met curious Socrates. We visited Plato's world of forms. We saw Aristotle studying the world around him. We thought about right and wrong with ethics. We wondered about reality with metaphysics. We questioned how we know things with epistemology. It has been quite an adventure for our minds, hasn't it? Philosophy is this ongoing adventure. You see, philosophy does not always give us final, easy answers. Sometimes it gives us more questions. But that is a good thing. These questions open up our minds. They make us look at the world in new ways. They challenge our old assumptions. It is like cleaning a window. Once the dust is wiped away, we can see everything much more clearly. Philosophy helps us clean the windows of our minds. Philosophy is like a compass. The world can be a puzzling place. There are so many different ideas, so many choices to make. Philosophy can help us find our direction. It helps us think about our values. It helps us understand different viewpoints. It gives us the tools to think for ourselves. It encourages us to live a life that is thoughtful and aware, a life where we keep asking why. So the next time you look up at the stars or wonder about a big question, remember philosophy. It is not something distant or difficult. It is a natural human activity. It is the love of wisdom. It is the joy of thinking. It is a way to explore the amazing, puzzling, beautiful world we live in. And it is a journey that everyone can take. The only ticket you need is your own curiosity.